November 10th, 1942. Stalingrad, Soviet Union. The city was a graveyard. Buildings reduced to skeletons. Streets filled with rubble. Everywhere, the smell of death. And somewhere in those ruins, a German sniper was hunting. His name was unknown, his face unseen. But his work was evident. 17 Soviet soldiers dead in 3 days. All of them headshots. All of them from positions that should have been safe. The Germans called him Der Meister, the Master. Soviet command was desperate. They needed someone to stop him. Someone who could think like him. Hunt like him. Kill like him. They called Senior Lieutenant Vasily Zaytsev, the best sniper in the 62nd Army, maybe the best in Stalingrad. Zaytsev had 225 confirmed kills, all verified, all documented. He understood how snipers thought, how they moved, how they hunted. The assignment was simple. Find the German sniper, kill him. But simple didn't mean easy, because this German wasn't like the others. He was patient, disciplined, never made mistakes, never revealed his position. He killed and disappeared. Killed and disappeared. And Zaytsev would have to track him through a city where every window was a potential hide, every pile of rubble a sniper's nest, and every movement could be your last. This wouldn't be a battle. It would be a hunt. Man against man. Sniper against sniper. 5 days of patience. 5 days of waiting. 5 days of psychological warfare. And 1 shot to end it. What Zaytsev didn't know, what he couldn't have predicted, was that this hunt would become legendary. That military snipers would study it for decades. That the duel between 2 men in the ruins of Stalingrad would prove that sniping wasn't just about marksmanship. It was about patience, psychology, and the willingness to wait 5 days for 1 perfect shot. Who was Vasily Zaytsev? Vasily Grigorievich. Zaytsev was born in 1915 in the Ural Mountains, hunting country. His grandfather was a hunter, taught Vasily to shoot when he was 5 years old. Not targets, wolves. In the Urals, hunting wasn't sport. It was survival. You learned to track, to wait, to take 1 shot, because ammunition was expensive, and wounded animals were dangerous. Vasily's grandfather taught him, patience is more important than the gun. You can have the best rifle in the world, but if you can't wait for the right shot, you'll miss. Vasily learned to wait. Hours, sometimes days, for 1 perfect shot. When the war started, Vasily enlisted in the Soviet Navy, served on a destroyer. But in September 1942, his unit was transferred to Stalingrad. The city was under siege. German forces controlled 90% of it. The Soviets held a thin strip along the Volga River. Desperate, outnumbered, but refusing to surrender. Vasily was assigned to the 1047th Rifle Regiment, regular infantry at first. But during his first week, an officer noticed him. "You're a good shot. I was a hunter before the war. We need snipers. Can you kill Germans the way you killed wolves?" Vasily thought about it. Yes. They gave him a Mosin Nagant rifle with a PU scope. Standard Soviet sniper rifle, bolt action. 5 rounds. Effective range, 800 meters. Simple, reliable. Deadly in the right hands. Vasily's hands. Over the next 2 months, Vasily killed 225 German soldiers. All confirmed by his spotter. All documented by his unit. He became famous. Soviet propaganda wrote about him. The hunter from the Urals. Newspapers printed his photograph. Soldiers wanted to meet him. But Vasily didn't care about fame. He cared about hunting, about the patience his grandfather taught him, about taking 1 perfect shot. When Soviet command told him about the German sniper, Der Meister, killing 17 men, Vasily knew this would be different. This wasn't hunting regular soldiers. This was hunting another hunter. Someone who thought like he did, moved like he did, waited like he did. It would be a test. not of marksmanship, of patience. And Vasily had been trained in patience since he was 5 years old. The German who never missed the German sniper, later identified as SS Hauptsturmführer Heinz Thorvald, was everything Vasily expected. Professional, patient, invisible. Thorvald had been a sniper since 1940, fought in France, in Yugoslavia, on the Eastern Front since 1941, over 400 confirmed kills. He was sent to Stalingrad specifically to counter Soviet snipers, especially Zaytsev. Soviet propaganda had made Zaytsev famous. The Germans knew about him, wanted him dead. And Thorvald was their answer. The sector where Thorvald operated was the factory district, destroyed industrial buildings. Mamayev Kurgan Hill overlooking everything. Perfect sniper country. Hundreds of positions, thousands of sight lines. And Thorvald knew them all. Vasily studied the kills. 17 men, 3 days. All headshots. All from different positions. The pattern told him something. Thorvald moved constantly. Never used the same position twice. Never stayed in one place more than a few hours. That made him hard to track. But it also meant something else. He was disciplined, followed doctrine, and doctrine could be predicted. Vasily took his spotter, Nikolai Kulikov, and entered the factory district. Their plan was simple. Become the bait. Expose themselves just enough to make Thorvald take a shot. And when he did, they'd track the muzzle flash, identify his position, and hunt him. But Thorvald didn't take the bait. Day 1, Vasily and Kulikov moved through the ruins, exposed themselves in what should have been good shots. Nothing. No shot. No movement. Thorvald was too smart. He knew Soviet snipers were hunting him, and he wasn't going to reveal himself for bait. Day 2, same thing. Movement. Exposure. No shot. Vasily started to understand. Thorvald wasn't just patient. He was playing a psychological game, waiting for Vasily to make a mistake, to get frustrated, to rush. But Vasily had hunted wolves in the Urals. He understood patience. So he waited. Day 3, Vasily changed tactics. Instead of moving, he found a position in a destroyed building. 3rd floor. Good sight lines, partial concealment. And he waited. Didn't move, didn't expose himself. Just watched. For 12 hours. Nothing. But on day 4, something changed. The waiting game. Day 4. 600 hours. Vasily had been in position for 18 hours. Same spot. 3rd floor of a destroyed apartment building. He hadn't moved, hadn't eaten, hadn't slept. Just watched. Through his scope, he could see most of the factory district. Hundreds of windows, dozens of good sniper positions. Any one of them could be Thorvald. Kulikov was with him, also watching, also waiting. At 0847 hours, Kulikov whispered, "Movement. 2 o'clock, 3rd building, 2nd floor." Vasily shifted his scope. Saw it. A glint. Reflection off glass. Could be a scope. Could be broken window. Impossible to tell. Could be him, Vasily said. Or could be nothing. They watched the position for 3 hours. No movement, no shot, no confirmation. At 1200 hours, a Soviet soldier, new replacement, inexperienced, walked across an open area. Poor tactical movement. Exposed. Crack. Single shot. The soldier dropped. Headshot. Vasily immediately scanned for muzzle flash. Nothing. The sound had echoed off buildings. Couldn't pinpoint source. But the angle of the hit suggested it came from the direction Vasily was watching. 3rd building. 2nd floor. "That's him," Kulikov said. Vasily wasn't sure. The shot could have come from multiple positions, but it was the best lead they had. He studied the building. 2nd floor, 3 windows, all destroyed, all offering good sightlines. Anyone could be Thorvald's hide. Vasily made a decision. "We wait," If he's there, he'll reveal himself eventually. They waited. Hours passed. 1300, 1400, 1500. Nothing. At 16:30 hours, Kulikov said, "I'm going to try something." "What?" "Draw his fire. If he shoots, you'll see the flash." Vasily grabbed his arm. "Too dangerous. We've been here 2 days. We need to force him to move." Kulikov was right, but Vasily didn't like it. "Be careful." Kulikov positioned himself at a window, put his helmet on a stick, raised it slowly. Classic bait. Crack. The helmet flew off the stick. Perfect headshot. If it had been a real head, Kulikov would be dead. But Vasily saw it. The muzzle flash. 3rd building. 2nd floor. Middle window. Got him. Now Vasily knew where Thorvald was. But Thorvald also knew that Vasily had just tracked his flash. The psychological game continued. Thorvald would move now, change positions, disappear again. Unless Vasily thought about it. What if Thorvald thought the helmet trick worked? What if he believed he'd killed a Soviet sniper? Would he stay in position? Or would he move? Doctrine said, "Move! Never stay after revealing position." But ego said stay. If Thorvald thought he'd won, he might wait to confirm the kill. Vasily decided to gamble. He would wait until morning. If Thorvald was still there, Vasily would take the shot. Day 5. The shot. Day 5. November 15th, 1942. 30 hours. Before dawn. Vasily had been in position all night. Scope trained on the middle window. 3rd building. 2nd floor. Waiting. The sun began to rise, golden light cutting through the ruins. At 06 Donko hours, Vasily saw movement. Subtle. A shadow shifting. In the window. Someone was there. Still there. Thorvald hadn't moved. He'd stayed in position. Vasily's gamble paid off. But now came the hard part. Taking the shot. The distance was approximately 400 meters. Well within his rifle's capability. But Vasily couldn't see Thorvald clearly. Just shadows. Movement. He needed Thorvald to expose himself. Just for a moment. Vasily whispered to Kulikov, "We're going to use the same trick. Helmet on a stick. But this time, I'll be ready." Kulikov nodded, positioned himself, raised the helmet. Vasily watched through his scope, focused on the window, waiting for Thorvald to react. Seconds passed. Then, movement. Thorvald shifted, raising his rifle, aiming at the helmet. For 1 second, his head was exposed. Vasily didn't think, didn't hesitate. Muscle memory, breath control, trigger squeeze. Crack. The shot echoed across the ruins. Through the scope, Vasily saw Thorvald slump. Hit. But was it a kill or just a wound? Vasily kept watching. No movement. No counter shot. Nothing. After 10 minutes, Kulikov said, "Think you got him?" "I don't know. We need to check." They waited another hour, then carefully made their way to the building, climbed to the 2nd floor, found the room, and there he was. SS Hauptsturmführer Heinz Thorvald. Dead. Single shot. Through the eye. His rifle, a K98K with a Zeiss scope, still aimed at where Kulikov had raised the helmet. Vasily picked up the German rifle, examined it. Quality craftsmanship. Better optics than his Mosin Nagant. But the rifle didn't matter. What mattered was patience. Thorvald was an excellent sniper. 400 kills. Professional. Disciplined. But he'd made one mistake. He'd stayed in position too long. Believed he'd won the psychological game. And that one mistake cost him his life. Vasily reported the kill. Soviet command was relieved. Their Meister was dead. Soviet soldiers could move more freely. Casualties from sniper fire dropped. But for Vasily, it was just another hunt. Another day in Stalingrad. Another shot. The duel that became legend. After the war, Vasily Zaytsev's duel with Heinz Thorvald became one of the most famous sniper engagements in history. Soviet propaganda amplified it, made it larger than life. The hunter who killed the master. Western historians debated whether it really happened. Some said Thorvald never existed, that Soviet propaganda invented him, but Soviet records showed otherwise. Zaytsev's sniper log documented the kill. Date: November 15, 1942. Target: German sniper, SS officer. Range: 400 meters. Result: confirmed kill. German records also showed an SS sniper instructor sent to Stalingrad in November 1942. Never returned. Listed as killed in action. The duel happened, and it became a case study. Military sniper schools analyzed it. What made Zaytsev successful? Not superior equipment. The German rifle was better, not superior training. Both were professionals. The difference was patience and psychological warfare. Zaytsev understood that the duel wasn't just physical, it was mental. Whoever got frustrated first would lose. Whoever rushed the shot would lose. Whoever broke from their discipline would lose. Thorvald broke first, stayed in position too long, let ego override doctrine, and paid for it. The U.S. Army Sniper School at Fort Benning teaches the Zaytsev-Thorvald duel. Key lessons. 1. Patience is more important than marksmanship. 2. Psychological warfare defeats tactical superiority. 3. Discipline must override ego. 4. Never stay in position after revealing yourself. 5. Study your opponent's patterns. Those 5 principles come directly from Zaytsev's 5-day hunt, and they're still relevant today. The sniper who became a hero. Vasily Zaytsev survived Stalingrad, continued fighting until January 1943, when a mortar round blinded him temporarily. He was evacuated, received medical treatment, regained his sight. By then, he was a hero of the Soviet Union, the highest honor. His final tally: 242 confirmed kills, including 11 enemy snipers. After the war, Zaytsev became a celebrity in the Soviet Union. Newspapers interviewed him. Schools invited him to speak. Children wanted his autograph. But Zaytsev was uncomfortable with fame. "I was just a soldier. I did my duty." He wrote a memoir, Notes of a Sniper. It became required reading for Soviet snipers, later translated into multiple languages, studied by military professionals worldwide. The chapter on the Thorvald duel was the most analyzed. Every detail, every decision, every moment of patience. It became the gold standard for how sniper duels should be fought. Zaytsev spent his later years in Kiev, worked as an engineer, lived quietly, rarely talked about the war unless asked. He died in 1991, age 76. Shortly before the Soviet Union collapsed, his funeral was attended by hundreds, veterans, soldiers, snipers who'd studied his methods. One speaker said, "Vasily Zaytsev proved that the best weapon a sniper has isn't the rifle. It's patience, and the ability to wait as long as necessary for one perfect shot." The legacy of the hunt. Today, military snipers around the world study the Zaytsev-Thorvald duel, not because of the distance. 400 meters is relatively close for modern snipers. Not because of the equipment. Modern rifles are far superior. But because of the psychology, the patience, the understanding that sniper duels aren't won with the first shot. They're won with the preparation before the shot. U.S. Marine Scout Sniper School includes a module called Counter-Sniper Operations. It opens with the Zaytsev-Thorvald case study. Students analyze each day. Day 1, reconnaissance and pattern analysis. Day 2, failed bait tactics. Day 3, position selection. Day 4, psychological provocation. Day 5, the shot. Each stage teaches something about patience, about discipline, about not rushing. One instructor said, "Modern snipers have better everything. Better rifles, better optics, better training. But they don't have better patience than Zaytsev. That's what we try to teach." The lesson is simple. In a sniper duel, the person who wins isn't the best shot. It's the most patient person. The shot that ended the hunt. There's a memorial in Volgograd, formerly Stalingrad, on Mamayev-Kurgan Hill, overlooking the city. It commemorates all Soviet soldiers who fought there. Vasily Zaytsev is buried there, at his request. He wanted to return to Stalingrad, to the place where he'd fought, where he'd hunted, where he'd waited 5 days for one shot. Every year, snipers visit, Russian, American, European. They stand at his grave. They look out over the city, and they understand what Zaytsev understood. That sniping isn't about killing from a distance. It's about patience, about waiting, about studying your opponent, about not taking the shot until you're absolutely certain it's the right shot. Vasily Zaytsev hunted Heinz Thorvald for 5 days, studied him, tracked him, waited for him. And when Thorvald made one small mistake, staying in position too long, Zaytsev took the shot. One shot. 400 meters. Through the eye. Perfect. That's what great snipers do. They don't rush. They don't guess. They wait. As long as necessary. For one perfect shot. And then they take it. Vasily Zaytsev was that sniper. The hunter from the Urals who learned patience hunting wolves, and used that patience to hunt men in the ruins of Stalingrad for 5 days, until one shot ended the hunt.